I want to shoot into a video today on how you can find your lane. And now when you do find your lane, you're going to get like 1,000x the results, especially if you ride your lane super duper hard and you don't get mad that you can't ride another lane. So let me give you an example. Let's say that I said right now, you know what? The best way for me to get you to like my content is if I have the biggest crowds. That's why you like my content, right? Because I have the biggest crowds. I have these huge, enormous crowds. That's why you like my content. That's why you think I'm a good personal growth teacher, because I have big crowds. Let's say that I say that to you right now. And let's say that I say to you, you know what, the way I'm going to get you to really like my stuff, I'm going to get even bigger crowds. You know, right now, I do an average of about a 500 to 700 person crowd. Sometimes I do over 1,000. I know that if I get to 2,000 people, you're really going to like me. You're going to like me a lot when I get to that 2,000 person crowd. That's why you like me now. And when I get to 2,000 people, you're going to like me even more. Well, let's say I say that to you right now. You know what you might say back? You might say, Owen, Anthony Robbins often has a 20,000 person crowd. Even if you double down and triple down on getting a bigger crowd, that's not why I like you, Owen. I don't care about that. What I liked about you was that you spoke directly to my needs. You spoke directly to me. There was something unique about you. You weren't as broad, but you were very, very focused on what I want. Maybe a guy such as Anthony Robbins, maybe he's a little bit more broad. He's got a bigger crowd. That's why I like you. But what if I get it in my head right now that I'm gonna become that mainstream person who you know, my whole path to success is getting 20,000 people. Well, no matter what, I'm not going to be that mainstream person like Anthony Robbins. I have a different past. I've done these different crazy niches. That's not my lane. But what I can do is work with multi-millionaire, even billionaire clients one-on-one. What I can do is have clients who actually stick with me for decades, getting amazing results and continue to get results. And what I can do is have an amazing life where people really appreciate what I do. But if all that I'm going to do is whine that I can't be having a 20,000 person crowd right now and just focus on how I want to get a 2,000 person crowd, what's going to happen is you're not going to want to work with me. My very wealthy clients aren't going to want to work with me, and I'm going to completely fail. You see what I'm doing here? Now, what if I said right now that in the same way with, say, socializing and getting social respect or getting attraction from people who I want to date, I'm going to become super duper good looking. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go get super duper jacked in the gym. In fact, you know why you like me right now? Because I'm super duper jacked in the gym. And what I think is that when I get super duper jacked in the gym, you're really, really going to like me. Well, that's probably not going to work because, I mean, let's be honest. I'm sitting here. I'm going to be turning 42 this week. I'm not somebody who probably has that base level of genes to be a world-class bodybuilder or to be a male model. Doesn't mean that I couldn't get to a really, really epic level. But if that's the main lane that I try to take to get people to be attracted to me, there's always going to be somebody in better shape. Think right now of, you know, maybe somebody who you know who's in amazing shape, and maybe look them up on your social media. Well, if you're creative enough, you can find people that are in so much better shape than even them, that even that person who's in amazing shape is basically a joke. So that's not really going to be your lane. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't get in shape. I'm looking forward to hitting the gym hard this year, but that doesn't mean, but that shouldn't be your lane. That's not going to be the lane forward. Likewise, let's say that people are going to like you because you have money. Let's say right now that you're making, I don't know, say it's $1 million a year. You think that's pretty good, right? Most people I know in LA who are very attractive, they've been to parties with people that are making 10 million a year, 100 million a year, $1 billion a year. So let's say that you made $1 million a year. You'd think, oh, now you'll be confident because you have confidence because you make $1 million a year. There's just people who have more. Let's say, for example, that you thought that you're, you know, a little too small. You got a little, you know, baby wet carrot, and you thought if it was bigger that you'd be better off. Well, guess what? There's plastic devices with batteries out there they can get that are like this, and they don't need that either. So if that's the case, realizing that all these different lanes that you think are going to get you the big win, that's the key to your salvation. Realizing that that's probably not an area you could compete. What's the one area that you can compete? Well, that area is you being you. There's only one you. Now, that's not an excuse to stay in a derp state. That's not an excuse to be lazy. That's not an excuse not to optimize yourself. You should put in work to get better and to optimize yourself. But realize there's certain areas that you're going to do better than others. Okay, so in my case, for example, say in my dating life, I understand that if I'm going to be dating somebody who their main focus is money, even with me running an 8-figure business, I can't compete on that because if they're a gold digger and their main thing is money, I'm still not going to measure up to the people who they could date. Likewise, I understand that with my looks. I understand that that's not going to be my lane. But what I do understand is that there are people who like those that are creative. Maybe they like people who are very creative. Maybe they like people that are a little bit outside the box. Maybe they like people that are outside the mainstream. Maybe they like people that are a bit of a different choice, right? So in the same way, take with clothing, right? There's some people who want to buy Gucci and Tom Ford and Dolce & Gabbana. But there's also some people who want to buy a lesser known brand, say SR Studios or Rude, like RHUDE or things like that. Maybe a little bit of a lesser known brand. And really what you're trying to communicate when you want that lesser known brand is that you have taste, you like luxury items, but you don't just want the exact same Gucci's that everybody walking down the street has. You want something different and unique. A lot of people in dating, they want to have that non-obvious choice. In fact, what I found is that the more beautiful person that you're meeting when you're dating, they actually feel like they already have the looks and they want to date somebody who's a little bit weird or off the wall. And this is why you'll see a lot of the time, people that are really weird, really off the wall, they do amazing. Now, let me add even a little bit more to that. I'm going to give you a funny expression. The expression I'm going to give you is the following. If you act a little bit crazy, they think you're nuts. But if you act completely crazy, they make you their leader. Now, let me say that again, okay? I'm going to repeat this again, okay? If you act a little bit crazy, if you're just a little bit crazy, people think you're nuts. But if you act super duper crazy, they make you their leader. Why does that happen? Okay, what's going on there? Let me give you a simple example. If you look at somebody like, say, DJ Khaled.
The key to more success is using the right soap. I only use Dove soap. Trust me.
Now, when you look at DJ Khaled doing that, if you look at his Instagram story or whatever, what he's actually doing there, it's kind of incognito what's happening. What he's doing is he's doing something a little bit weird, but in his sub-communication, he's completely owning it. Do you see this? In his sub-communication, he's completely owning it. So he's doing something that's completely crazy. Like a normal person, if they're like, Dove is the key, Dove is the key, they just look nuts, right? They're a bit crazy. But if you're completely crazy, you're like, Dove is the keys to success. And then you're just like, right? You're like, Dove soap. What happens is that when you do that and you own it, all of a sudden, the fact that you look a little bit different, you don't look conventionally attractive, or the fact that you're owning so much the Dove soap, that actually makes you more attractive. So this is the same thing in my own business. What's happened is I do things that are very, very unconventional, but I don't focus on doing that perfect thing that everybody's going to want and reaching everybody's standards. Instead, what I do is I niche down and I focus on being me, being the most me, being the best version of me that I can be, and owning who I am. Now, this kind of can go back and forth because people that are very like depressed and lame, they can like, well, I'm going to own being depressed and lame. Although to be fair, there's people who do own that too. But it shouldn't be an excuse to be like a 0 out of 10 version of yourself. The idea is that you want to be this 9 or 10 out of 10 version of you, own it, and then it's through you owning it that other people get sucked in, okay? So the basic key is this. In any social interaction, there's one person reacting more to the other person than that person is reacting to them. Caught it? In any social interaction, there's one person reacting more to that person than that person's reacting to them. So in order to be a leader, the basic key of it is that if you are just you and you own it, and you don't keep questioning yourself, you just fully own it, you are the one who's putting output, but you're not worrying so much about the response. Now, you're aware of the response in case you're making somebody uncomfortable. You don't ever want to make someone uncomfortable, but you're not chasing validation. You're not chasing approval. You're not looking to others to be who you are. If you can do that and you own who you are, and then what you do is you fully flesh out what it is that you are. You flesh that out and you kind of expand that to its fullest creative potential. You take who you are now and you really look at that niche of who you are and you kind of go, whoop, and you really pull it out. And you really own that at a high level. That's how, in my experience, you're going to get a lot more success. And I can tell you, there's so many times that people are telling me that I should fit in with a certain mainstream thing or do this or do that. And frankly, I just think there's so many intangibles they're not considering. A, for me to do that would not energize me, so I wouldn't even have as much output or work as hard. I just wouldn't. Second of all, it wouldn't be me playing to my strengths. You can really only build greatness on top of strengths. And then going from there, I'd be going so broad and trying to please everybody, but I wouldn't truly be loved by anybody. So if you think about it, even in evolution, this is probably why different species exist. So it might have been like this one core species, and then other species found that they had a certain mutation that would allow them to do better doing this or that or the other thing. And look, as much as we'd all like to be the lion, there's a reason why we're not a lion. Sometimes you are the way you are, and rather than just being a a baboon trying to be a lion, like roar, roar, I'm gonna do it the way the lion does it. Like, as cool as that would be, like, look, it'd be super cool to be super rich and super jacked and kind of do it the conventional way. I'm not saying that that's not a fun or awesome thing. But if that's not in the cards for you, you can sit there trying to live up to that standard and banging your head against the wall, or you can say to yourself, how can I own who it is that I am now fully, own it. Don't ping off other people and react to other people's standards, but fully own who I am now and put energy out, make it fun, make it interesting, make it very engaging, and have people have a lot to engage with for people. And if I do that, I'm still gonna have this huge audience of people who really like me for who I am. And see, here's the key here. When I go into an event, let's say I'm doing a 1,000-person event, and there's 1,000 people in there chanting my name, the way that it looks when you see that is kind of an illusion. It literally looks like I could be the most popular person in the world. But of course, if you look online, and you look me up, if you even just Google me or look me up on social media, you'll see countless videos of people who hate what I'm doing, countless videos of people who think it sucks, countless of people who have problems with it. And if we were to even walk down the street and I walked up to the average person, I said, hey, do you want to come on one of my really expensive programs for free? The average person wouldn't even take it for free. What? Right? You're like, what are you talking about, right? Or say that you see me dating a couple different people, and maybe these people are very, very smart, or beauty pageant winners, or famous models, or things like that. You'd see me surrounded with people like that, or maybe at one of my house parties that I do in Hollywood, and you see a whole bunch of other people that are very beautiful around me who like me, and you think, wow, Owen's so popular. You'd probably think the same thing of Dan Bilzerian. In that captive environment. Little would you realize that what I've done is I've just gone out and met thousands and thousands of people, and I've sifted through, found maybe 50 or 100 who think I'm super cool, who are really, really into what it is that I have to offer, put everybody into a party, and now I just look like this regal emperor or something like that, which is completely not even the reality of the larger population's opinion of me at all. But see, in order to do this, you have to be okay that not everybody's gonna like you. You've got to be okay with that. To have a niche of people who love you and to be able to put them together into a group where they all love you and they're fighting and clawing for your attention, in order to do that, you've got to be okay with some people not liking you. So let me ask you another question. We'll just move back here for the final bit. Have you ever seen it to where maybe you see somebody who's really good looking or somebody who's really rich, and maybe you felt a little bit bitter that you couldn't get their kind of approval or validation or so on and so forth, right? You're like, why couldn't I just be like them? Have you ever kind of had thoughts like that? Like, why couldn't I just be like them? The funny thing is, if you can accept the laws that we just talked about now, you can generally have the same lifestyle that they have, like entire house or entire seminar of people who love you and worship you. You can have that. But there's one thing that you're going to have to go through that they don't. You're going to have to put yourself out there. You're going to have to go through the fire. You're going to have to take the critical feedback. You're going to have a group of people who maybe don't like you, and you're going to have to be okay with that in order to find that niche of people who do like you. And the main key is this: just like when I do an event and there's 1,000 people there who love what I do, and I say, hey, who'd like to take an even crazier program with me? And in that event, I'm the VIP and everybody's fighting and clawing to do the program. That creates social proof, which then amplifies the perception that people have of me. And I can even create boundaries, and I can even run the whole show and be the leader because I'm in a captive environment where I'm the king in that little environment, right? For that moment, I'm not, I'm sitting out here, the average person on the street would just be like, shut up, stop yelling, right? That's not my reality out here. It's an illusion. But in that environment, when I can actually if I can handle going out, meeting a ton of people, many who don't like me, but some who actually really like me, getting together everybody who really likes me into either a party or a seminar room or a get-together, whatever it is, maybe a channel here, whatever it is. If I can do that, then I get that social proof, which allows me to put a higher price point on myself, allows me to even further raise my value, and allows me to be the king of my own little domain. So would it be better, for example, that I was, a famous movie star or some famous rich kid? Sure, but see, here's the difference. For most of them, the people who have it easier, they're probably never going to get to have that beautiful experience of rejection. They're probably never going to get to have that beautiful grounding experience of failure. Or at least if they will, it's not going to be as obvious. And what do we know about human beings? We know that when life gets too easy, we just get too easily offended. We get too easily hurt. We become weak. We become like jellyfish. Is that really what you want to be? I don't think you want to be that way at all. Because what I've seen of people who are really good looking or really rich or meet society's standards somehow, some way, is that inevitably, maybe they get older, or maybe they have a health issue, or maybe they have a business issue. When that house of cards falls down, they've got nothing to fall back on. They're not those strong people who you can become through this process of having to get after it. But funny enough, you can get the exact same results as them if you can just embrace that process of going out and getting it done. And see, that's the difference between, say, being a rich kid who got money from your parents, but if you lost it, you couldn't replace it, versus being somebody who's self-made, who could recreate that result any time. But again, you've got to be okay with knowing what your niche is, with writing it, with playing it fully fleshed out. And if you can accept that process and stop being a crybaby about it, you can just get the most absolutely insane results. Now, last point, and this is to help you in moving forward. The last final practical point. I want you to think of anybody's response to you as being in your favor. And here's what I mean, kind of building on that last point. Either A, they love you to death, in which case, maybe you hook up, maybe you do business, maybe you become best friends, whatever. That's number one. Number two is they think you're okay. Now, somebody who just thinks you're okay, maybe they're not going to hook up with you or do business with you, but what can they do? They can give you social proof and referrals. So follow that. Number one, maybe they hook up with you or become best friends or do business. Number two, people who just think you're okay, they give you social proof or referrals. If I meet somebody out who I really like, but they're not into me like that, that's fine. I say, hey, come to my party. Now they're giving me social proof, and then they bring their friends. And number three is someone who dislikes you. What they can do is either A, provide some kind of constructive feedback, maybe about what you're doing wrong that you could improve, because, you know, even though you want to ride your niche and not chase people's approval, sometimes there could be some good constructive approval mixed in there too. You can sort of absorb that too, it can help you. But also, they help bring you back to being grounded. Because when you get that bad feedback, it actually grounds you to who you are, forces you not to chase validation, and makes you a stronger person. So that's not a bad thing at all. So whether somebody loves you, thinks you're okay, or hates you, actually getting out there and going through that process is one of the best things that you could do in the world. Anyway, I hope that you enjoyed the video. I've actually been shooting this really, really intense backlog of videos all over the country for a little over a year now, and that's going to be coming out later in the year, but I thought it'd be kind of fun to do quick videos just to some of these cool shooting locations and releasing them even before that big backlog comes out. So this was just a quick off-the-cuff thought about how you can first recognize your lane, second of all, ride that lane, third of all, not need everybody to approve of you in the standard lane, and fourth of all, go on to having these epic, legendary results and even becoming more grounded to who you are in the process.